I'm Paul Levinson, and welcome to Light On, Light Through, episode 290, my review of Star Trek Picard 2.9. And I'll start off this review by saying I thought this episode easily was the best one of this season so far. Every major character was sharpened, in some cases to the point of having an epiphany, in other cases with the result of being transformed into something very different from what they were all season. And of course, there are spoilers ahead. So let's begin with Agnes and the Borg Queen, who now are thoroughly integrated. No surprise there, except this turns out to be a good thing, not just for the two characters, but for the universe. Agnes used all of her persuasive powers and intelligence to convince the Borg Queen that being on the side of thriving life was a better way to go than turning everyone into a de facto robot. Their coming to terms begins with Agnes saying bullshit in response to something the Borg Queen said, and the Borg Queen likewise criticizing Agnes's response as follows, quote, to share your own crude colloquialism, bullshit. This rapprochement over a word became the Borg Queen agreeing with Agnes that she, both the Queen and Agnes, would be more satisfied, would feel better if she got her essential energy from cooperation rather than assimilation. You know, that's a lesson that's profoundly important these days, especially these days, on and off the Paramount Plus screen. In fact, never more so in the last decades than in our world today. 7, to get back to Star Trek, of course, was a beneficiary of this coming together. She ends up becoming part of the Borg again, but this time the enlightened cooperative version, the one that respects individuals. 7 also, of course, doesn't feel completely good about this, but she gets that this is the best way of expressing her Borgness, which she had never totally divested before the rapprochement. Meanwhile, Picard has a life-changing experience, finally realizing and understanding how what he experienced as a boy put a damper on the rest of his life. He felt guilty about his mother's suicide, and he carried that burden throughout his life. Now that he's free of that, let's hope Picard finally gets together with Laris, if not in this season, then the next. Speaking of true love, it was also good to see Raffi able to see and interact again with Elnor, even if he was only a hologram, but is telling her that his last living thoughts about Raffi was the love he had for her, will help her come to terms with his death and the guilt she's been carrying about that. And still on the subject of true love, it's not clear if Rios has said a final goodbye to the Doc and her son. Well, being the optimistic romantic that I am, I'm hoping we see them together again. Which leaves the ancestor of Data's creator. And with the Borg now stepping into the enlightened light, Adam Sung, motivated by Q, has become the biggest villain on the scene. I'll let you know next week what I think about how all of that works out. And I hope you enjoyed this review of Star Trek Picard 2.9. I will be back here with a review of the season finale 2.10. Coming up much sooner than that, I still owe you a review of Slow Horses. You'll hear that probably later today. And in addition to that, a review of The Man Who Fell to the Earth, and, well, who knows what else. In the meantime, do what you can to help those brave, heroic people of Ukraine get those invading Russians once and for all out of their country, Ukraine.
The Light on Light Through podcast.
Athens, 2042 AD. She ripped the paper in half, then ripped the halves, then ripped what was left again into bits and pieces of history that could have been. Sierra Waters had read once that, years ago, it was thought that men made love for the thrill, while women made love for the sense of connection it gave them.
Curled Up with a Good Book says, Sierra Waters is sexy as hell. You can find out more about The Plot to Save Socrates by Paul Levinson at theplottosavesocrates.com.
Paul Levinson Silk Code about an ancient biotech war raging on in secret for centuries.